Anyway, my name is Brett Siegel, and what you're about to see is going to shake you to your core. Just hours ago, President Trump announced an historic ceasefire between Iran and Israel, a deal that could have saved countless lives, could have ended 12 days of bloodshed. But even before the ink was dry, missiles were flying. A family of 4 in Beersheba, gone. The ceasefire shattered. And President Trump, he's done playing referee. The man's pissed. His raw, unfiltered rage caught on camera as he boards Air Force One will show you exactly why America needs a leader who speaks truth, not talking points. This isn't diplomacy as usual. This is war and peace hanging by a thread. Now keep watching. Here's the hard truth. Every 6 years, your dollar loses half of its buying power. That means $100,000 savings account today could feel like a $50,000 account by 2031. And you see it every time you fill up your tank, buy groceries, or pay the bills. The prices are up. Your dollar is down. But there's a simple way to protect the value of your savings with something real, something proven. It's gold, an asset that holds its value over time. That's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. They make it simple to protect your savings with physical gold or silver. No high-pressure sales, no call centers, just honest guidance, one-on-one support, and transparent pricing. And right now, when you open a qualified account, Noble Gold will send you a free 10-ounce silver American flag bar as a thank you. Head to nextnewsgold.com today to learn more. That's nextnewsgold.com. Don't just protect your wealth, preserve its power. Now let's watch our fearless leader, Gary Franchi, report from inside the NATO headquarters.
Franchi, Chief White House correspondent for the Next News Network, reporting from inside the International Media Center at the NATO summit in The Hague, Netherlands. Behind me, hundreds of reporters from around the world and media support teams are working nonstop, all inside the security perimeter known as Operation Orange Shield, a Dutch-led mission securing the most powerful military alliance on Earth. And now, our very first report from inside this fortress of diplomacy comes with some devastating news. Just hours after President Trump proudly announced a historic ceasefire between Iran and Israel, a ceasefire that could have ended a brutal 12-day war, well, that peace is already in pieces. This was the scene in Beersheba, Israel, just hours into the ceasefire. Rockets launched by Iranian-backed militants tore through a neighborhood. A family gone. This is what the end of peace looks like. Watch.
State TV now denies that that the Iranian government, the Iranian military, was responsible for those 1 or 2 missiles that went into Israel's north. We're still looking to confirm the specific number on that. Now, that missile was intercepted and landed without injury, but not without consequence. As you mentioned, Israel's defense minister and the chief of general staff have now vowed fierce retaliation for the violation of a ceasefire that wasn't quite 4 hours old when those missiles came into the north of Israel. But again, Iran is denying that they took part in that. Now, as the ceasefire was preparing to take hold, about 5 waves of ballistic missiles came in from Iran. One of them hit down here in Beersheba, where I'm standing right now. And as we look behind me, you can see what looks like the impact site from that missile is indeed the impact site from the missile. You can see rescue crews right now going through the rubble, searching for any possible people who are trapped in the rubble. It should be mentioned that no one is missing right now. They're just operating out of abundance of caution. One of the things I've seen the rescuers doing today is forming up an old-fashioned bucket brigade, carrying rubble out of that building just to clear as much space as they can. Now, we do know that a family of 4 was inside of the bomb shelter. That bomb shelter took a direct hit. Here is a spokesman from Homefront Command.
What we understand currently, that the family was inside the shelter, and unfortunately, when we have a direct hit, a direct strike of a missile in the shelter, it did not always help.
So those bomb rooms do a good job of protecting people in the blast radius, but when you have a powerful warhead like the one that came down here and it takes a direct hit, all 4 of those people perish. There was an additional 26 people who were injured by the force of that blast, and their injuries vary. So we're watching the situation. When these missiles were fired, the Israeli fighter jets were in the air over Iran. They detected the missile launches and struck back at least some of those missile launchers. So that has taken place. place all today. But the situation now, of course, is very fragile with Israel's defense minister and the chief of general staff vowing to strike back at Iran for what they say is a flagrant violation of the ceasefire. Iran now says they didn't do it. You could be looking to one of the other rogue elements, a rogue element inside of Iran, or one of the other proxies that are operating in the region.
Now, Iran didn't just violate the ceasefire, they shattered it in cold blood. While diplomats here prepared their talking points, Iran fired missiles. This is the reality that President Trump now walks into. And President Trump, just before boarding Air Force One for Europe, made his fury clear, his raw frustration with both Israel and Iran boiled over in one unscripted moment. Watch.
Iran violated the peace agreement, the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Now, that's not a sanitized statement. That's a leader who is done playing referee. He's furious, and rightfully so. The ceasefire he brokered was violated before it could even take effect. And before Wheels Up, Trump also tore into the legacy press, specifically CNN, for downplaying the Iranian strike. And he issued a fiery defense of the American pilots who executed the retaliatory precision bombing campaign just days ago. Roll it.
I think it's been completely demolished. I think the reason we're here is because those pilots, those B-2 pilots, did an unbelievable job. And, you know, the fake news, like CNN in particular, they're trying to say, well, I agree that it was destroyed, but maybe not that destroyed. You know what they're doing? They're really hurting great pilots that put their lives in the line. CNN is scum, and so is MSDNC. They're all, and frankly, the networks aren't much better. It's all fake news, but they should not have done that. Those pilots hit their targets. Those targets were obliterated, and the pilots should be given credit. They're not after the pilots, they're after me. They want to try and demean.
Do you believe that Iran can rebuild its nuclear program?
Iran will never rebuild its nuclear. From there? Absolutely not. That place is under rock. That place is demolished. The B-2 pilots did their job. They did it better than anybody could even imagine. They hit late in the evening. It was dark with no moon, and they hit that target with every one of those things, and that place is gone. But when I see CNN all night long, they're trying to say, well, maybe it wasn't really as demolished as we thought. It was demolished. You take a look at the pinpricks, and you see that place is gone. And I will say, I think CNN ought to apologize to the pilots of the B-2s. I think that MSDNC ought to apologize. I think these guys really, these networks and these cable networks are real losers. You really are. You're real losers. You're gutless losers. I say that to CNN because I watch it. I have no choice. I got to watch that garbage. It's all garbage. It's all fake news. But I think CNN is a gutless group of people. And the people that run it, nobody even knows it's been sold so many times. But the people that run it ought to be ashamed. MSDNC, a guy named Brian Roberts, he heads it. He's a disgrace. He's a weak, pathetic disgrace.
The media lied again. And Trump isn't letting go. This isn't just about the headlines. It's about honor. Those B-2 pilots flew halfway around the world and delivered a message the entire globe understood. And President Trump stood by them. Stephen Miller, appearing on Fox News shortly after those strikes, he laid it out clearly. Trump's doctrine is peace, but only after power. No more patience and no more appeasement. Watch.
The lesson that the Iranian regime has learned from President Trump is the lesson of hard power, Sean. President Trump gave them a 60-day deadline. The deadline was very clear. Make a deal with us or pay a price you cannot imagine. Look what's happened over the last 12 days. The leader of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard has been killed. The senior leadership in the government has been killed. Their entire upper leadership ranks have been executed. The entire infrastructure that allows them to create ballistic missiles has been wiped out. Their air defenses have been eliminated, and President Trump dropped 30,000-pound massive ordnance-penetrating bombs on Iran, wiping out their nuclear capabilities. What lesson has the regime learned from this? When President Trump offers you an olive branch, you better take it. Because if you don't, what's going to happen? So, you know, we can talk about words and press releases and everything else. Sean, the lesson the world has learned is that President Trump talks softly and he carries a stick that will smack and destroy and annihilate any single effort to create a nuclear power in this country that threatens American security.
Now, this wasn't reckless. It was righteous. It was decisive. Iran's nuclear program is now rubble, and tonight the world is watching to see what comes next. But Trump's message wasn't just for Tehran. Before leaving Washington, he voiced frustration with Israel's continued escalations, even after agreeing to the ceasefire. Watch.
I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either. All I do is play both sides.
This is how you know Trump wants peace, real peace. He'll praise allies, yes, but he'll also call them out when they cross the line. That is what leadership looks like. And now, here in The Hague, U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker, he's laid down a new American expectation for allies. This wasn't from months ago. This is from today, right here at NATO headquarters. Watch.
You've heard it before. This NATO summit is historic. This time, it really is. Here's why. On behalf of the Trump administration, my team and I have been working around the clock to prepare for the summit in The Hague. And let me tell you, this one's a game changer. This year, we're laser focused. 5%. That's the headline, that's the mission. 5% of GDP for defense. Not just spending, but building real capability, real deterrence, and real power. In 2014, NATO set a 2% goal. A decade later, some allies are finally getting there. But we've got to do more, because peace through strength demands nothing less. In just 2 days, President Trump will move this forward toward one of the most significant foreign policy achievements in recent history. Let's raise the bar. Let's get it done. The time is now.
5% of GDP, that's not a goal, that's a demand. And the days of freeloading under America's shield are over. And Whitaker made it clear, pay up or stand down. Meanwhile, Turkey's President Erdogan issued a fiery condemnation of Israel and Western hypocrisy from Ankara just before departing for the summit. Watch.
In 2026, the NATO summit is going to be held. We would like to host this event in Turkey. In the margins of this summit, we would be willing to also hold bilateral talks. And the decisions that we're going to take at the summit in The Hague will hopefully be auspicious. We believe that diplomacy should be utilized to bring an end to hostilities in Ukraine. After a 3-year hiatus, in the last couple of days, the parties actually got together in Istanbul. And when it comes to exchanging of prisoners of war, certain decisions were made and they were implemented thanks to our facilitation. The Istanbul process must continue, and we are planning new steps to continue this process. And at the summit and at our bilateral talks, we will also raise the issue of the massacres perpetrated by the Netanyahu government on the people of Gaza. For 21 months, this occupation has been going on, pilfering and destruction in the territories. This must immediately come to an end. We're going to underscore this once again.
Now, that wasn't a press statement. That was a geopolitical torpedo. Turkey may be a NATO member, but Erdogan is making it clear he is not playing by the old rules. And finally, as global war loomed, Ukraine's President Zelensky and King Charles staged a glossy photo op in London prior to their arrival here in The Hague. Watch this surreal moment.
Experience. Yes, exactly. Right.
Your Majesty, Mr. President, if I could just have your looking towards me, I was so grateful. Thank you. Would you please take one step towards me, please? You'd be so kind.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. Otherwise, your face was completely obliterated by the light.
Are we all right now?
Maybe yes. This is ideal. Thank you very much. Just looking right towards me. Bear with me, please.
Do you want a handshake? Would that be helpful?
Would you be kind enough to do a handshake?
Thank you so much.
This is what President can bear it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Marvelous.
That's lovely.
Marvelous.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
You're happy?
Happy. We're happy.
Do you need to? You don't need to wash your hands.
No, I'm okay.
Just in case.
So while homes burn, they pose. And since this footage, Zelensky has arrived in The Hague, and he's now aggressively lobbying NATO members to fast-track Ukraine's full alliance membership. The stakes, they're higher than ever. So this is what we're walking into. Ceasefires ignored, allies uncertain, enemies emboldened, and NATO divided. And we're here inside the media center watching it all unfold in real time. This is no longer about diplomacy. This is all about destiny. That's right. And we're going to keep reporting it raw, unfiltered, and straight from the front line of the world stage. I'm Gary Franchi for the Next News Network. So stay alert, stay grounded, and pray for peace, because we're standing in the eye of the storm.
I swear, all this makes me think of a bunch of obstreperous school children duking it out on the playground, and there's only one adult in the room. All this matters because our sons and daughters wear the uniform. Your tax dollars fund these operations. And when ceasefires collapse in hours, when allies try to play both sides, when our pilots risk everything just to be mocked by the fake news, that's not just a foreign policy failing. Oh, should we get a handshake? That's just a pose. This is American leadership being tested on the world stage. Trump stood alone defending our warriors, while NATO basically begs for more money and more war. He's demanding accountability from Israel and Iran, while everyone else picks sides. And that's what a real commander-in-chief does. He doesn't play favorites, he plays for peace. And he throws balls and strikes too. Apparently there was like one stray missile that came down, and Israel was like, like the kid on the playground was like, she touched me. And then he goes and then they go and just pound him, on a technicality. Not cool. But here's the real question. Should America keep funding NATO allies who undermine our peace efforts while demanding that we pay for their defense? Yes or no? Show us in the chat. Drop your answer in the comments. And while you're fired up, check out our merch shop link below. Show the world that you stand with truth, not propaganda.